Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. This week our guest is Emily Emmons, Executive Director of Hoʻōla Farms, an organization providing agricultural training for veterans in Hawaii and operating a drive-up market. Hey everyone, I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers. I'm a longtime farmers market manager and education coordinator at Farmers Market Pros.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active farmers market manager and consultant, founder of Farmers Market Pros, and host of the Farmers Market Pros community.
And I'm Justine Marzoni-Mead, Tent Talk producer and marketing director for Farmers Market Pros.
And filmmaker.
Filmmaker, web designer, fashion designer.
Lead detective.
Justine is a
whatever you want.
Renaissance woman. Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is supported by the Food Corridor, streamlining rental kitchen operations to make things easier for kitchen managers and food entrepreneurs throughout the U.S. Find more information at thefoodcorridor.com or by clicking the Food Corridor logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com. Stick around at the end of this episode for a special mini interview with Hailey Edmondson from the Food Corridor.
Well, welcome back to Tent Talk, everybody. Today we are talking with Emily Emmons, Executive Director of Hoʻōla Farms, a nonprofit that serves military veterans, caregivers, first responders, and their families by providing opportunities to heal through providing natural agriculture educational training and hands-on experiences. In addition to beginner farmer education, Hoʻōla Farms operates a weekly online farmers market with curbside pickup, an innovative, convenient way for farmers to sell directly to local consumers. Welcome to Tent Talk, Emily.
Thank you. Aloha. And thank you for having me on.
Aloha. We're so excited to talk to you. We'll just start with a couple kind of background questions. Can you tell us about your personal and business background and what led you to start Hoʻōla Farms?
Sure. I have a BA in interior design through Chico State. So
so naturally, you went to farmers markets, of course.
That's right, exactly. I like to start my story that way because I think it's interesting how life takes you on a journey, and it's not always where you start or where you think you'll finish. But I still use a lot of those beginning skills along the way I'm doing what I do today. So I started off with a degree in interior design. I met my husband, John, in Reno in 2007. We were married shortly after he returned from his second tour in Iraq. He then got out of the service, but went back in an active duty role with the Department of Defense shortly after that. So most of our first 10 years of life was him in service at some level, which he experienced some traumatic brain injury and other combat-related injuries that changed our world. And so when that happened, we decided that we needed to change our approach to our life and find our new normal. And so that's really what got me into agriculture, was that my husband felt the calling to grow things again. And so in times of real strain and struggle, the one thing that was a conduit to our family and his healing process was growing in our backyard. So it started with a small garden. And then it grew and it grew, and our young daughters started to participate also in the growing. So then there was some healing and reconnection with our family after many deployments and years of apartness in all the ways, and with me as well. At that point, I realized that if this was helping and healing for our family, that other veteran families might also benefit from programs. So I started looking for opportunities to participate in programs in our community. And what I found was there wasn't really anything that had this kind of connection for veterans. So we started out, we had 43 acres that we leased with a big land company here. We were grateful to have their support at the beginning. And we thought, hey, we'll just open space, have 1 to 3 acres, and we'll just welcome folks to come out and grow with us, and we'll empower their business. We'll empower new farmers to get started. Crickets. No one came to build their big farms. We got participation in Weed Whacker Wednesday And we had lots of camaraderie and connection, but no one wanted to commit to the time, effort, money into putting into property and land that they didn't know what was going to happen to in the future. They could only have short-term leases. So we stepped back. We gave that 43 acres back, which felt like a defeat at the time. But we realized we needed to understand better how we could support our community and help this mission. And it was worth not giving up on. So at that time, we switched to the victory garden model, and we started delivering small scale raised victory beds or victory gardens to veterans' homes. And then we also started including the caregiver as well. So a caregiver can also request a victory garden. And what we found was when we bring the soil, the amendments, small starter plants, and a gratitude rock and help them plant and grow their first produce, what happens is the ripple effects go far beyond that box. What we found is not only is the connection with their family growing, but they also are able to have produce to give away to their neighbors, which provides purpose and a sense of community in a way, a conduit to community in a way that we hadn't seen when we just tried to offer everything right off the bat. We also learned that they were interested in having more educational opportunities available to them. My husband was an elementary school teacher before 9/11. Then he signed up after 9/11. And so he insisted that all of our programs be focused on or have a piece of agriculture, of education platforms. So we're not only telling someone or giving someone food today, but we're teaching them and we're empowering them to learn how to grow for their future. And that can look like production agriculture at this time, and we have a program for that. That can look like backyard sustainability measures, and that's okay too. So we try to hold space for folks ready for that kind of life, new normal change that we experienced and really felt grateful to have found during our journey.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah. Really amazing.
What a great way to take like a connection that you were finding in your own family and like offer it to other people. I just love that.
Yeah. And interesting how once it was something that people could have in their own homes, it kind of changed it.
Yes, it changed it. And it was the conduit to all these other amazing things that have happened, because once we stopped deciding what everyone needed and started listening to what people actually wanted, we were able to find our stride and really provide the kind of programs that our community needs. And that's really what led us into taking over the farm to car model that we have today and that I'm here for today, the Hawaii farm to car model.
Cool. We're going to dive deep into the farm to car model in a second, but before you get there, just a couple more questions about your different farmer training programs. So it kind of looks like you have 3 different levels of like a very beginner one with the intro to grow, and then the more intermediate groundwork to grow training, and then the advanced level with the growing veterans. If you could just give us a quick rundown of those 3 programs.
Sure, I sure can. So Intro to Grow and Groundwork to Grow is a beginning farmer rancher USDA funded program that we received this 2021. So we're in our first year of that program, and it provides 1-day workshops at our organic market garden where we grow the produce that we sell on our site, or some of the produce that we sell on our site. Okay, so in our 4-week Groundwork to Grow cohort, we have 4 different types of agriculture training that we provide. And it's really an exposure-based, experience-based classwork. And the idea is to get an understanding of different agriculture models and practices that are out there. So we just went through a cohort in April where they were on bees and apiary. So they learned from different businesses on bees and apiary practices, small business sales and opportunities, and also some of the market groups that are available so that they can collectively work together in the future. So we're trying to create opportunities for people to experience and be exposed before they deep dive into a certain practice in agriculture. Because as you guys know, just because you like to eat green beans doesn't mean necessarily that you want to be picking green beans all the time. So even understanding what those models look like can help you understand what you want to do in the future.
That's good. That kind of sounds like our Vendor 101
right,
program where it's like, hey, take this course. It's a small investment. And if you learn that you want to continue, that's great. But if you learn that the farmers market industry is not for you and you want to run away from all of this course content, then that's
great too.
$200 well spent.
And actually we encourage that because we really feel like that's an opportunity to engage them. Maybe they're interested in the distribution path and they can help us be more innovative in distribution. Or maybe they're social media savvy and that's how they can be supportive. Maybe they just decide they're going to buy from local food and local marketplaces from now on because they know now the effects and the benefits to the community when they do that. So even if that's the connection that we've made, those ripple effects are going to be seen throughout our community. And then our final program, and I'll just touch briefly on that one, that's with a partnership with an organization called Go Farm Hawaii. And it's a 6-month intensive commercial agriculture production training course. And at the end of that, they are selling market veggies. They are putting together a 7-week CSA. They have a plot that they fully manage on their own. So they've really become farmers over that 7-month period of time that they're on the plot together. So that model allows us to help folks actually take it up into a business beyond just the exposure piece.
Awesome. So is the groundwork to grow required before you take the Growing Veterans?
It's not required, but actually we did the Growing Veterans grant first. That was also USDA NIFA funded through Ag Vets grants. And we understood that we actually needed that intro program in order to better support and have folks ready to take that 6-month agriculture training class. So we realized that there was we call them pukas here, or holes in the system, that if we could help get more people through that first 4 weeks, then we're going to have more qualified folks go through and get more out of the program in the long-term program. So.
And Emily, had you or any of you or your husband or anybody else in your organization worked in nonprofits before?
No.
Because I'm impressed that you've gotten the USDA funding. I mean, it's been great that USDA has actually created some funding specifically to help vets. But it's how did you figure out how to tap into that and create an organization?
We have some great local support here. The Kohala Center was a wonderful organization from the beginning here that was formed a long time ago to help farmers here in Hawaii. And so they really helped us. They believed in us when we were little and just were interested in our story as well. So we're really grateful for them. Also, the University of Hawaii and Go Farm was a great conduit to us, and we were able to also support their programs through our veteran support organization opportunities. So it's been beneficial throughout. But like I said, the more that we started listening to what people actually needed, the better our programs got and have continued to get.
I think that's our theme this year.
Yeah.
We just had a conversation with somebody else that was talking about diversified populations at farmers markets and discovering that what they needed was not printed translation of the market information. It was they would prefer YouTube videos or recordings because it was easier for them to translate in their languages. So we got into a whole conversation about let's not assume what we should be doing for people. Let's ask people what they need us to do for them.
Yeah. So how many people have completed the Growing Veterans program at this point?
So 26 veterans have graduated the program in the last 3 years. And I'll say I'm so proud of that number. I'm so proud of our team and our partners. That all happened during COVID. And we kept going. And actually, when the world was slowing down and stopping, us as farmers and local food producers, and we engaged, we stepped in and gathered on virtual calls and found ways to get food that was farmers used to be able to sell it commercially, and they weren't able to do that. And so we were able to quickly activate and start distributing food. For us, it was first for veterans, at-risk veterans in our community that we located and were able to help support. But that really helped us. That was really the conduit that got us into looking into what we're doing today with the Hawaii Farm to Car program, was that we saw the gap in the distribution of local produce that just needed help getting out to customers, and that customers wanted a place to purchase, but didn't always know where to find that in an easy, safe, accessible way.
Gotcha. That's awesome. 26.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So where are they now? Are these like, and kind of tying in with the next question is like, beyond healing and connection and purpose for these veterans, like what is the ultimate goal of your program? Is it really to, turn these folks into professional farmers that are going to get their own farmland, or what are you seeing these graduates doing with this awesome training?
That's exactly right. For the Ag Excel, the Growing Veterans Program, the goal is for them to be actively engaging in either additional education for farm training, doing their own farm, working on a farm, or working within the agriculture sector in some way. One of the neat things with our partnership with the Go Farm program is they do have a few incubator spaces. So after the graduates have gone through, they can apply for an incubation plot. And so that has helped us and help veterans expand. So we have several that are on incubation plots throughout the state. So they're growing their business in that way. There are several veterans, actually mostly here on Hawaii Island, that already had land. And so they were really looking for the skills and the structure so that they could implement it on their own property already. So those things are happening, and there's continued, like we go out and visit their operations. We see how we can help them think critically about what they're doing. And, so we try to be supportive throughout the process. It's not just like, okay, you graduated our program and now you're out of here. We are very interested. And actually, I think we probably have 8 to 10 Ag Vets graduates selling now on our Farm to Car platform as well.
Awesome. And in that training program, you said there was some kind of business focused coursework. Do you do any specific training for farmers markets and how farmers can succeed in that arena?
Not specifically, not right now. It's been more of a general and let's look at all the different outlets for sales. But for us and our customer and our clientele, we really want to help make that transition. And so that's something that we're working on right now. How do we make sure that we're providing the courses that our established farmers need instead of what we think they need? So
cool. That's great. So you said you have 8 to 10 graduates that are participating in your farm to car market. Are some of your grads also participating in other kind of in-person markets around your area?
In-person markets. They're selling to wholesale, retail, commercially. They're importing it to Dubai. One's going to Dubai with their avocados, so you just don't know. Yeah.
So many different ways you can use it. When did you launch the farm to car market?
So we actually did not launch the program. We took over the Farm Bureau, the statewide Farm Bureau actually launched several of these Hawaii Farm to Car programs throughout the state in, I think, July of 2020.
So the Farm to Car, the reason they started those versus a traditional farmer's market, was that a COVID reaction?
Correct. And it was a COVID and a farmer-supported need because all of a sudden there was they didn't have anywhere to sell their produce quickly. So everything was going bad.
Gotcha. So
we took over 1 year after it started. The program was actually going to be phased out and closed down because capacity and that kind of thing. It just didn't align with the other organization's goals for the future, which is fine. It was a quick setup, emerging need that they managed. But we were selling our produce on the Farm to Car platform, and we recognized that customers were changing the way that they were ordering from local businesses and local farmers, and that we didn't want to disrupt that new line of communication and sales platform between the farmer and the local customer. So that was the conduit that really made sense for us, the piece that made sense for us. So yeah, that's how we approach taking over the program, and now we approach how we look at driving the business.
Did you see customers on that portal that were had been customers of traditional farmers markets, or were you seeing more, do you think, people that had been shopping at regular grocery stores and were being introduced to farmers via the
I think
car?
both.
Yeah.
I think
Great.
both. Yeah. There's some that are really passionate about ordering local and supporting local, and some that are just delighted that they have the option to have so many things accessible to them in one place. Because it's a local farmers market, we get to grow and sell things that a lot of other places don't sell. And then we have the convenience of just that click of the button during ordering time. And then you just drive through and pick it up on Wednesdays. And you could buy from 45, 50 different farmers if you'd like.
Wow.
It's pretty neat. Where else can you do that?
Yeah, that's, well, a traditional farmer's market. But other than that, other than that, not many places. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Have you considered doing a traditional farmer's market, or are you finding that the farmers are more comfortable with this model, the farmers that you're working with and the customers?
There are some amazing farmers markets in Hawaii. We are known for, especially Hawaii Island, we're known for amazing farmers markets. So we're not in any way trying to compete with the awesome programs that are already going on. We see ourselves as a midweek conduit of support for people who are really trying to support local farmers. So we believe that the same person who's ordering from us over the weekend, getting their food on a Wednesday, is also going to their Saturday or Sunday morning market and getting what they need during that time. And that we fill the gap in that Wednesday drive-through pickup pre-order fulfillment. So it's different from that I need things right now, I'm going today purchases. So we really see that we're a support factor, not a competition.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of an add-on.
Absolutely.
So you're saying 45 to 50 producers participate. About how many shoppers participate each week?
We're at about 100 to 115 shoppers a week.
That's great.
Wow, that's cool.
And do you see a lot of repeat business? The same shoppers come back every week. They make that part of their habit.
And one of the fun things that we've seen is that the per purchase amount has gone up. So where they were spending $29, $30 an order, now we're seeing between $70 and $80 an order.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
So some order more, obviously, and some less.
But just like counting on it to have on the midweek, I think you've kind of built up this trust, it sounds like, where it's like, oh, this can be my regular grocery shopping kind of thing that I do on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's my favorite lettuces, so I can stock up on great hydroponic lettuce, and I can get the sweet potatoes, and I can get the frozen meat, and I can get the sourdough bread, and I could get my cocoa face rub, and I can get my raw food for my dog. And I mean, it's a really dynamic market.
Yeah, so really full service.
It's fun to watch it grow.
Yeah.
So logistically, how does that work? Do you take the orders and then the farmers bring things to you and you aggregate them, put them in boxes or bags?
So you guys had the local food marketplace, and that's who we use as our platform and our backend.
Oh, great.
So basically, the farmer has a link directly once they set up with our account. Each week they go on and they update their inventory counts on their own. If they don't want to sell anything that week, that's okay. They want to come back next week, that's great. So they're responsible for fulfilling what they have available. And then our market is open from 10 a.m. on Friday mornings to 6 p.m. on Monday afternoon. So at any time within that, you can shop the market. Now, just like you guys know, early bird gets the worm. So there is good stuff that people know is going to go by 10:05. And so they're setting their alarm on Friday morning to make sure that they're the first ones in to order. And that's kind of fun too. So our producers can see and witness what is selling and what isn't working. And then if they need to make changes or adjust, they can do that in a pretty safe and forgiving marketplace where week to week they can change things a little bit and see if that helps in their sales.
Right. And then do you aggregate the boxes? Do you have a team that does that?
Oh, yeah. So Monday evenings, we give them a cut list of or a pick list of what's already been sold. They only harvest and deliver what's already been pre-sold. So there's no waste, which is why the farmers love it too. And they have one drop-off point, and then we deal with everything after that. So it gets dropped off before 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. We have a couple of fantastic volunteers who come in to help us in redistributing the food and getting it into the right bags. And we And then the customers drive through between 3 and 6 for pickup.
That's amazing.
Oh,
Then
wow.
how does that work for the farmers in terms of pricing? Are you taking a percentage of their sales? Do they pay to be on the
what
program?
we do is we have a markup on top of that, and it's just a basic 20% markup. We're a nonprofit, so we try to empower our farmers to price things so that they can survive also.
Right.
And be thoughtful of that. Do their research and due diligence and understand what the market can sustain so that they are actually asking enough for their.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, because that's what we always, promote as the difference between farmers markets and other kinds of grocery stores is that the farmer keeps the retail price so that they can afford to keep farming. So you're just basically taking the retail price and then adding 20% for the convenience.
And it's only just to barely, pay for the paper bags and the staff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But for right now, it's worth it to us to do that. It's a really important program for our community in a way that we can support farmers in more than one way. So it's like a win-win for us.
Yeah, and it sounds great because farmers can, it seems like relatively easy for them where they could sell at a market on Wednesday and also participate in this thing. They don't really have to be at in two places at once.
Right.
Get some options.
I mean, that's the beauty I see. It's like we're like adding an extra market without the extra setup market day. So a farmer that maybe is supplying 2 or 3 markets on other days of the week, they may now be able to supply for us as well on Wednesdays because we're not in competing market times. And then they can, grow their business.
Right. And they're still developing those relationships at those in-person markets with getting to know the consumers. Now, your market also accepts SNAP, right? Food stamps?
That's right.
So how does that work with online ordering?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it took us a bit of time to navigate that, actually. We have a handheld at point of service processing machine that's hooked up to the hardwired line, and that is the legal and only way we can accept SNAP is in person right there like that. So we have most cars drive through to pick up, but when we have big orders, we have a couple of parking spots over to the side and we ask people to pull over so we can load. I mean, sometimes we're doing compost and big trees, we have nursery items, all kinds of stuff. And so we do have an area for parking. And so those SNAP customers know to just go ahead and pull over into one of those designated parking spots. Our SNAP person just runs out there and processes their card in real time. And they go off with their food. And we have been able to connect with the SNAP benefits for them.
That's great.
It's been, it took a bit. We were a little worried about how that was going to go at the beginning. But it's been seamless and customers are really happy to have that option. And we're just delighted to be able to offer it.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
I hope to grow that portion of the program, actually.
That's wonderful. I know that's been a challenge for a lot of folks, especially during COVID when they were trying to do alternative pickup methods and aggregating, that the EBT piece was a stumbling block for a lot of people. So good for you for figuring that out.
Yeah, and it's great to have that pickup option because a lot of people are on EBT because they have a disability or they're out of work for some reason where they're maybe not very mobile. And so they want to buy local produce, but it's hard to do that because you can't get out of your car and walk around and such. So having that ability to use your EBT benefits while also being able to just order online and pick it up, I'm sure is just really helping those customers so much.
Yeah.
Right when they need it. So that sounds like such an amazing kind of market access for you. Can you talk a little bit about your commercial kitchen piece as well? So Hoʻōla Farms, you guys are planning to purchase a commercial kitchen business to support local farmers and producers. And how did that come about?
Yes, we actually just made that transaction April 1st. So we're the new owners of the Hilo Food Hub here in Hilo.
Congratulations.
Really excited Thank you. It was really a delightful added surprise, something that we were really hoping, and it was always a goal for the future. But this particular opportunity came up. It's really challenging to get existing commercial kitchens here that are functional and ready to be used. And if you have to get a new permitted kitchen, it can take 3 to 5 years, which feels pretty daunting when we need it now. So there was a small commercial kitchen in a warehouse space that was started during COVID as well by a small business who just realized other small businesses needed a shared commercial kitchen space. So he took it upon himself to get that structure up and running. he actually made the wise decision to use the food corridor as the platform that we use. And so that really made it easy for us to step in because it manages all of the kitchen hours. It manages all of the contracts, all of the billing, everything goes through there. So it wasn't a huge undertaking for us to step into this role and then just continue running a smooth operation. So that's what's happened in this last month. And I think we've added 6 new vendors to our Hilo Food Hub customer list as well. And we're growing there as well. So
that's amazing. And are you keeping the same name? Hilo Food Hub?
We are going to keep the same name. Our logos are all one now.
Great.
So we're working on the rebranding. That's one of the challenging things is making sure that we have a cohesive brand and a story that helps tell the bigger picture that we're not just a food marketplace. We're not just a ag incubator. We're actually trying to support the from seed through production and sales to help empower our community to rise and to be more resilient. And so that means a lot to us. We want to make sure that we do that in a thoughtful, kind approach, something that has stability for us to grow long term. So that's really what we're trying to hunker down and do right now.
That's amazing. It sounds like you're bringing so much to your community. I love that you're also helping caregivers. I think, a lot of times, and I'm sure you have been in this position with your husband's injuries and things, that a lot of times people understand that it's challenging for the person who's been injured or who's suffering trauma and sometimes forget how rough it is on that caregiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you even understanding that is a challenge. So thank you. And it is. And I think that growing and being part of healthy food and putting healthy food into your body empowers you to grow and be healthy in other ways. And so we try and remind caregivers of that and the importance of caring for themselves so that they can live healthy, happy lives for themselves and be a supportive partner as they lead their caregiver lives.
Yeah, for sure. Important. Yeah. And that can be so isolating, I think, to be a caregiver. And it feels like you really just tie this whole community together and make them feel like they're a part of something. So I feel like that's really, really special. And
when I found my purpose is when I learned how to grow into who I want to be. And so it's my mission now to help other people find their purpose as well. And to support that in whatever ways that we can. So I think that's really an important part of the puzzle.
Yeah. Sounds like you're doing a fantastic job.
So cool.
Really covering all the bases and supporting so many people, including the just regular shopper who's coming to get local food and can eat well. So
yeah, and it sounds like this commercial kitchen piece is going to be such a great way to give your farm students and your community just this like an additional help, because as somebody that did, like, I owned my own hot sauce business, and finding a commercial kitchen is a nightmare. Yeah. Like, it is so hard, and it is a really big stumbling block for a lot of people interested in this line of work, because just it's like finding like a new apartment, but like way worse, because there's all these permits and you have to deal with like regulatory agencies, and then also sharing that space with people can be really hard. So it sounds like a really kind of, I don't know, just a really helpful aspect of your foundation to, start to finish.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I really think that it is too. In just the month that we've been here, I've seen in ways that have surprised me already, of course, because I don't know until I'm there witnessing what actually needs to happen. So that's been really fun to be there the last month and see organically. The community is so important, right? Like no matter what community, whether it's on the farm site growing, that community is important. The commercial kitchen community is important. Those people that are there, they're like-minded, even though they're this and they're that, and they seem very different. That community that we build helps again with that resilience throughout, and the ripples last far longer than what we know. So I'm happy to be part of it.
You're accomplishing so much. Yeah. Last question: any new plans? What's next for you?
What's next is making sure that our foundation is solid so that these programs can grow and have a firm foundation, and that we can make sure that we're being thoughtful in everything that we do. So that's going to be the next year or two here intention.
Emily, we had read about what you did and we were aware of what you were doing. I have to tell you, after this interview, I'm just kind of dumbstruck on what a change you're making in your world and what a wonderful thing you're doing. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Emily.
Wow, that was quite an episode. We're really impressed with what Emily's doing, and we're really glad that some of our Farmers Market Pros resources have helped her do that. Thanks to the Food Corridor for what they do for kitchen managers and market operators and small food entrepreneurs. Stay tuned. We're going to go right into a quick chat with Hailey Edmondson from the Food Corridor, and she'll tell us a little bit more about what they're doing and why they do it. Hey, Hailey.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming. So we're going to talk to you about the Food Corridor and Kitchen Door, one of our resource partners, two of our resource partners, actually, at Farmers Market Pros. Just to start out, can you give us just a little bit of background with the shared kitchen industry and how that overlaps with farmers markets and how you landed in this position?
Yeah, happy to. So I guess, for folks who don't know what do we mean when we say incubator kitchen, shared kitchen? Really, these are commercial kitchen spaces that are, people who operate a food business, maybe they've ended a farmer's market, they're able to rent space maybe by the hour to operate legally and scale in a commercial kitchen space. And so the Food Corridor is basically, we have a lot of resources and software tools to help shared kitchen managers handle their clients and schedule the shared space and things like that. So that's a little bit of background on shared kitchens. We've been around for about 7 years doing this, and a lot of what we do is, this is a really actually pretty new and growing sector. In 2019, we did a little survey of 180 kitchens, and 40% of them were less than 5 years old. So that just gives you an idea of how many, new kitchens are really popping up.
Yeah, I think the kitchen industry the whole shared kitchen industry grew alongside of farmers markets growing because so many of us have vendors and farmers doing value-added things that need to be in a commercial kitchen in order to get their permits to operate in all areas of the country. So it was interesting to see the shared kitchens grow and the number of them pop up and them expanding the services that they provided. How did you land in this industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll just be honest, and probably 4 years ago, I don't think I really would have been able to tell you what a shared kitchen was. But my background in my undergrad was actually in plant sciences, and I was always interested in food and agriculture, but I think initially maybe from a more like STEM perspective. And then I wanted to do something more people focused, and that led me to actually accept a position as an AmeriCorps Vista member, which you may be familiar with, but basically a small nonprofit in Maryland, just outside of DC, called Crossroads Community Food Network. They had a longstanding farmers market. They had been around since 2007, and they just had raised money and opened a brand new community kitchen. And so I was the AmeriCorps member that was meant to help out with that programming and connecting the farmers market with the people who were producing items in the kitchen. So that's how I initially got into the shared kitchen space and actually the farmers market space. And we use the Food Corridor there. So that's also how I first learned about the Food Corridor.
Perfect. So you've got your background meshes with everything that we do here.
Very organic.
Yeah, it was a great start.
So why should farmers market managers know about shared kitchens?
I happen to know from working at the information booth at the farmers market in Maryland that people are always, interested in vending, interested in, what's the next step if I want to open a food business. It's it can be a very overwhelming thing to have to explain to somebody because there's a lot of steps, and obviously kudos to people who actually operate food businesses. And I think one of the big steps is, they will need a space to operate out of. And so if you know of a commercial kitchen in your area or a shared kitchen, knowing about what the requirements are and who manages that space, it's a really easy next step to guide somebody who's interested in vending at your market, really get them the information and the resources that they need to make that happen for them.
For sure. So if you say you're a market manager and you want to find out what kitchens are in your area, is that something that you all help with?
Yes. So we have a directory online. It's called The Kitchen Door. So just thekitchendoor.com. And over the past few years, it's basically just a directory. It's free for kitchens to list their space on the site. And it's free for food businesses that are interested in renting space to search for kitchens in their area. And so they can search for, I can search for kitchens in San Diego. I can send them a little message and say what I'm interested in. And then they can tell me, what that rental process looks like. And we have almost 1,000 kitchens in the US and Canada on the site. So
wow,
that's a lot.
And we send, probably 2,000 plus inquiries each month to kitchens on the site. So it's very active. There's a lot of people looking for space and a lot of people, that have the resource available. So that's a great place to start.
It's a really valuable thing. I know that in our Vendor 101 class for new vendors, we include the Kitchen Door as a resource because it's such a good way to really get more information on a kitchen, not just take it blind, but you have some basics about what kind of equipment they have and when they're open and all the things that help you pick that kind of kitchen. And it seems like commercial kitchens would be a good resource for managers too in terms of finding vendors, right?
Yes, that's definitely true. So it's actually so striking what the overlap is, but we just did a survey actually recently, just of food businesses operating out of shared kitchens, and this specific group of businesses hasn't really been surveyed before. It was a little project that we did with USDA, and the most common market channel, the most common sales channel used by people in shared kitchens is farmers markets. Over half of them are selling at farmers markets.
Oh, wow.
So
that's exciting to know.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of vendors, potential vendors that are operating in a local kitchen. So that's a great place to look.
Yeah, forming an alliance with your local kitchens, I think it's a really good way to up your vendor count, or if you're looking for new vendors in specific categories, the folks that run those can really help. So there's also, I think, a trend in market managers themselves, especially once their markets reach a particular size, in wanting to become involved in either opening a shared kitchen or partnering with a shared kitchen. Do you all provide tips for how you get started in that whole area?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we see this a lot. And that's actually the kitchen that I initially worked at was a program that stemmed from that market. And they actually collaborated with a church, and they had an underutilized kitchen, and they kind of handed it off to the nonprofit to manage that. But I would say for people who are interested in what it might look like to open their own shared kitchen, we have a lot of resources that are free and really great places to start and kind of, pick the brains of people who've done it before. We have on our resources page on our website, we have a toolkit that's really start to finish. What does it look like to plan that all out? So developing relationships with the health department and understanding, you'll need storage and, how do you manage the different membership plans? So a lot of that, just basic planning and business planning. We also have a online community that's probably pretty similar to the Farmers Market Pros Facebook page called the Network for Incubator and Commissary Kitchens, the NIC. And there's over 2,000 members in there of people who are operating kitchens or want to be operating kitchens. So that's also a really good place to kind of crowdsource information.
That's great. Can you give us just a real brief kind of rundown on why the Food Corridor does what it does?
So our mission at the Food Corridor is to enable efficiency, growth, and innovation in local food by empowering shared kitchens and their food businesses. And so really the tools and resources that we offer are meant to save kitchen managers time, like not fielding phone calls and managing the scheduling and chasing payment from people. Our core product is really meant to free up their time to foster their relationships. And, kitchens, I think like farmers markets, are really proud of their programming. Assisting early growth businesses is a primary goal of a lot of kitchens that we work with. So it's really about, giving kitchens the tools they need to be able to provide the important resource they do to their food system, available space.
That's such an important thing. We really appreciate what you're doing, making those kitchens work better, work more efficiently, helping small food businesses get started, because I think we're all about that too as farmers market folks, and it's really nice to have a partner in that. You have a survey going on right now, right, to find out what more Food Corridor and the Kitchen Door can do to support farmers markets?
Yes, we do. So, we know that there's a lot of farmers markets that know about kitchens or want to know more about kitchens, and we're looking for ways that we can, foster that connectivity between the farmers market space and the shared kitchen space. So the more we know about market managers and what their, challenges and goals are, we can help, bring those two together.
Great. Is there a link to that survey on your website now, Hailey?
There is a link, I believe.
We'll make sure that it gets posted on the Farmers Market Pros resource page.
Yeah, we can put them in the show notes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it'll be in the show notes for this episode. So we'll make sure that all of our listeners have a chance to take that survey, connect with the Food Corridor and the Kitchen Door, and keep fostering this partnership. It's a really valuable one for everybody involved. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Hailey.
Thanks, Hailey. Thanks for listening today. And big thanks to the Food Corridor and the Kitchen Door for supporting food entrepreneurs, kitchen managers, and market operators, and for their support of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast.
Farmers markets are all about connection, and all of us, operators, farmers, and vendors, keep learning. Connect with people just like you from various parts of the country and share what's happening in your area in the terrific conversations over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. If you're actively involved in a farmer's market, please find us there, answer the 3 qualifying questions, and join the group. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. If you're looking for further education, check out our online course offerings at farmersmarketpros.com. Thanks for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni-Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll have another great episode next week, so tune in.